Hey guys, I'm Urizi. This story is all about what if Naruto solved the Millennium puzzle. A boy forgotten and disowned by his family, an ancient secret buried by the sands of time. Now that he is about to awaken, bringing to light ancient secrets and a lost evil, the struggle of the divinities is about to unleash in the ninja lands. Kin, the chosen one, chosen by fate to be able to save everyone from the return of the shadows and the evil that commands it. Before we proceed with the story, please like and subscribe to this channel if you liked the video, and don't forget to check the description for the other works of the author if you liked the story. Let's start. Chapter 7, Survival of the Fittest. Day of the exams. Every team that chose to participate in this year's exams made their way to the academy building where they were hosted. Among them, you can see not only several small villages many genin may have never heard of, but it appears this may be the first attempt of unified exams between all 5 main villages. It was a last-minute shock to say the least. Not only has Iwa sent in a couple of teams, but Kiri has decided to send their own teams as well as Kumo. It was about over a decade ago that these 3 nations were united against fighting Konoha and lost bitterly, with one of them starting a civil war. So it was strange when Konoha's worst enemy, a superpower of brutes and potentially unstable isolationists. Overall, it's probably a time to think forward. Only Minato uses this as a chance to tell the village how great it is, making them more arrogant since he's still obsessed with the idea that he is the greatest Hokage. To this day so few people believe that anymore, as most of the shinobi and a small portion of the civilians have seen the damage their Yondaime has caused. Only Minato is too arrogant to care and claims he'll win them over. Contrary to belief, today is not about focusing on the politics of the Chunin exams. Today was about all the Chunin hopefuls who want to show strength and pride for their hidden village. With that said, let's see how many of these hopefuls can make their dream a reality. Academy. Hey, drop the genjutsu! Yelled an arrogant emo-looking boy. Now suddenly that dream is already gone. Might as well ended for the duck, but had some kid dressed as a pickle with a bowl cut failed to stop the disguised Chunin from attacking. Sasuke Uchiha would soon get his butt kicked by a rejected version of Bruce Lee shortly after. With the other teams, those who didn't say anything or fall for a basic trap, despite some Konoha genin having been in the academy for a year, only realizing that the 3rd floor classrooms are on the 3rd floor. For some odd reason they assumed the class numbers were the same as their districts and house numbers. /N, according to a TED Talk, Japan uses districts and a non-linear numbering system for their houses. They also don't have names for their streets. That's when a familiar-looking feral kid appeared. Well, looky here. If isn't the rookie 9? He said. Kiba-kun. 15 of us graduated. Hinata Hyuga said, correcting her friend. Yeah, but we never talk to those guys. Kiba replied. Because they don't like you, Kiba. Shino said. What's wrong with me? Kiba asked. A lot of things. Shino said as Akamaru barked in agreement. What's that, Akamaru? Kiba asked. Bark. Translation: Kiba, you're my bro and I love ya, I really do. But you're kind of an idiot, a bit of a jerk, you're impatient and, who am I kidding, you're not listening to me. See, Akamaru thinks I'm a great guy. Kiba said. Anyways, you guys better back off. Cause Team 7 is winning the exams. Arashi boasted. Yeah, you can't compete with the might of an Uchiha, a Namikaze and, bubblegum over here. Sasuke said, reluctantly, making Sakura grow hearts in her eyes. Sasuke-kun, I love my new nickname. Sakura said, somehow gaining inhuman strength to crush Sasuke in a death hug. Can you all keep it down? You're grabbing too much attention. Said an older genin with silver hair and glasses. Who are you? Arashi asked. My name is Kabuto and I've taken this exam 7 times. He answered. Wow, you must suck. Kiba laughed. Or this test is a lot more difficult than it is. Sasuke said, after all Kiba was always the stupid one of the group. Before Kabuto could reveal something rather illegal to a group of genin with the intelligence that runs on the speed of a microwave. A large man in a bandana appeared and yelled at them to take their seats since he felt like trouble was going to stir up. So instead of dealing with it, he decided to prevent it. Starting with a complex writing test. Meanwhile, with Naruto, everyone's favorite blonde was praising his siblings as they trained hard with their dual monsters. It was still something that he kept away from most people, including Martha. He didn't like hiding things from his adoptive mother or his adoptive siblings, but he felt like he needed a cover before revealing anything. Joey is still confused about it and didn't find it necessary to tell anyone, and Serenity has been keeping her dual spirit to herself. Then there's Crow, who's watched Naruto work on his cards, but never bothered to look into what they were. Putting his worries aside for a minute, he looked over to the kids as Shiro ran up to him. The little boy raised his arms up, gesturing for Naruto to lift him. Naruto smiled and raised him into the air. "Aniki, you're really happy today?" Shiro said. "I know, I just had a fun time last night," Naruto said as he put Shiro back down. "Was it your date with that girl?" Shiro asked. Naruto chuckled. "I guess you could say that," he answered. "No way Aniki has a girlfriend," Minori asked as Kurobin and Tuya followed her. "Well, she's not my girlfriend. She's someone I kind of liked being around," Naruto answered. "Aniki, if she likes you back, then that means we'll get an Ana," Minori said. A/N, according to Google Translate and some websites, Ana is the term for older sister. Correct me if you find the proper term or older/big sister. Calm down there, Amuto. I'm not getting married anytime soon. I'm not a ninja, remember? So I don't have to worry about a short life. Naruto partially lied about the last one. His job as an enforcer was dangerous, and if it hadn't been for Kurama and his cards, he would be dead or seriously injured. "Well, what about what was her name?" Tuya asked. "Blair," Naruto answered. "Yeah, what about Blair-chan? Is she a civilian like you?" Tuya asked, making Naruto think. Naruto thought it over. It's not that he was thinking of a lie or some sort of cover. It's that he only now realized the concept of dating a shinobi. Naruto was only optimistic when he was absolutely sure things would go perfectly or things could be fixed. Thinking about it now, not everyone was lucky enough to reach the Sandaimei's age as a ninja. So thinking about it, he wasn't sure how things would turn out with Blair. "No, she's a ninja," Naruto answered, trying to hide his secret tone. Shiro was the only one to notice it, but didn't want to pressure his Aniki. The little information he had on his brother's past was he had a bad experience with them. Naruto had his own ideals and believed a shinobi would either never think the same or reach his types of goals. As much as he admired Naruto as his older brother, there were times he worried about what Naruto was hiding. "Then that means you have to marry her soon, dummy," Minori chuckled. "Hey, leave Naruto alone, Minori-ne. He's scared she might say no," Tuya said. "Oops, I forgot how hopeless you men are," Minori said, stifling a giggle. "Hey, that's not what I meant," Tuya argued. "Okay, that's enough. I brought you to my homeland so you can live the lives you deserve, not to argue about topics you are all too young to understand," Naruto said. The kids all nodded as they went back to practicing their summoning. Then suddenly another bird appeared and landed on Naruto's shoulder, tilting its head. Naruto extended his hand, convincing the bird to jump on. Upon closer inspection, he noticed the knot tied on its leg and carefully took it after giving it a little snack. He began to read it as the bird took off. Looking it over, he went wide-eyed and had to plan quickly. Another dangerous mission was afoot, and to think he said his life wasn't as dangerous as a ninja's. He sighed as he looked at the kids having fun. He felt sad that he needed to cut this lovely sight soon. The only way to keep them safe was to eliminate all threats. After all, what would be a bigger threat besides Orochimaru and Danzo Shimura? Back at the exams, Training Ground 44. Those that passed the writing test made it to the Forest of Death. A training ground that was used like a playground for a certain woman with pineapple-shaped hair. Here another proctor, Anko Mitarashi to be exact, would explain the rules. Each team was given one of two scrolls, Earth and Heaven. It was their jobs to survive and make it to the tower within 5 days, all the while taking the opposite scroll they have from an enemy team. One arrogant Namikaze claimed for it to be easy, which earned him getting his cheek cut. Then a strange gesture where Akusa Kunoichi gave Anko her kunai back with her very noticeably long tongue. For some reason the apprentice of the criminal Chunin didn't put 2 and 2 together at the sight of the humongous tongue alone. With everything in place, every team signed the necessary paperwork to qualify. With that done, Anko gave them all the signal to begin telling everyone to run into the forest through their assigned gate, thus beginning the second stage of the Chunin exams. The only problem is, no one noticed the black-clad figure making their way into the forest going over the gates. You didn't need to notice that figure in order to know there was trouble rising. Later in the Forest of Death, Naruto climbed to the highest point in the forest he could find and looked over the massive forest. Looking over it, he went down to a branch and sat on it in a cross-legged position. Unsealing the Millennium puzzle, note, Naruto no longer wears it with his disguise, he began to tap into its energy to help him amplify his sensory skills. As he began to feel the world around him, all he could sense evil and insanity around him. The forest was much darker than people think, the real reason for its name is unknown, but at least something to spread this energy of wickedness. Naruto had no time to think about what was causing this evil and needed to separate the influence and find the one he was looking for. After a long meditation he sensed several pockets of chakra with no signature at all. As if they were just living sacks of meat. No purpose, no self-preservation, no free will. Root. Naruto quickly jumped down, breaking several branches below his feet and jumping off the last one before safely landing on his feet and running towards the group. Dashing as fast as he could, he also went through a quick hand seal and created two groups of shadow clones. Signaling them to flank him, he arrived at the site of an Iwa and Kiri team being surrounded. Signaling his clones at the right moment to begin their attack, Root quickly found themselves on the defensive. These elite shinobi found themselves being attacked from all around the corners. A few minutes passed and both foreign genin teams found their attackers knocked out on the ground in various ways. Most of them by electrocution or near suffocation of water. Once finished, Naruto ordered his clones to begin sealing them away until he can get their tongue seals removed and send them to Ibiki to deal with. By the time he finished, he looked at the teams. "Please continue with your exam," Naruto said bluntly, making them sweat drop. "Hey, wait, I know you," one of the Kiri genin said. "Eh?" Naruto asked. "Yeah, you're that guy who summoned the dragon to fight the former Mizukage," said another Kiri genin. "Oh, you saw that? Didn't think anyone that young fought in the war," Naruto said as he took off before anyone else said anything. Leaving the Kiri team in awe while the Iwa team wondering who that was. From the sounds of things, he wasn't loyal to one side alone and had the power to summon a dragon if the Kiri team was correct. Maybe after fighting the opposing team, can they find more information for Chuchikage-sama? Back with Naruto, he took another high point and worked on trying to find Orochimaru or any of Danzo's root ninja. If anything happened to those teams, Konoha would be put under heavy hostility and likely war if they ever found out Danzo's reckless actions were found out. The last thing anyone needs is Danzo destroying the world. Warmonger or not, the idiot was outdated and his tactics would create destruction, not victory for anyone. With that said, he can only hope no one innocent is being attacked by the Snake Sunin. With Team 7. 5-pronged seal. Orochimaru yelled as he slammed his palms into Arashi's gut, sending him falling down only to be caught by a kunai courtesy of Sakura. After all, as scary and mean as Arashi is, Sakura needed all her teammates to pass and help Sasuke achieve his promotion that he rightfully deserves, and she can't afford to be blamed by the Yondaime if the Baka gets killed. "And now my gift for you, Sasuke-kun," Orochimaru said as he revealed his fangs ready to extend his neck. "He's my Sasuke-kun, you dumbass Sunin," Sakura screeched, making Orochimaru almost fall off his branch as the loud noise created an earthquake. Orochimaru could swear this pink-haired girl had just awakened to a dormant bloodline involving loud sounds. If possible, she would have been perfect as a genin of Otogakuer. After all, a lot of actual sound-based jutsus were created under them. That, and he could use another bloodline to add to his collection. If this girl wasn't so weak and useless, she would have made a perfect member of his infamous Sound 4/5 depending on Kimimura's health. Orochimaru put the idea aside since he only had his eyes set on one bloodline. Rubbing his ears hoping to reduce the pain, he quickly extended his neck and bit down on Sasuke's neck before retracting and retreating quickly. As he sunk into the tree, he swears that the girl's screech is a powerful bloodline. Perhaps if she survived, he could take a blood sample and test the theory. It's not as if the girl's blood would harm him in any way. STD check anyone. Sakura was now left alone to care for her Sasuke-kun and the Hokage's son. Crap, it was her chance to help cheer and support her team. Who said just because she signed up to be a kunoichi, she had to get real work done? Hard labor is for pigs like Ino after all. Her name literally means boar. I can confirm this is true. Why does Kami punish the innocent? Back with Naruto. Shit. He was there and now he's gone. Naruto yelled, punching the tree. The snake Chunin was just there and now his signature was gone. That and a heavy amount of dark energy was quickly restrained. Whatever it was, it's gone now and that didn't feel very good. Whether it was Orochimaru or someone else, whatever restrained that dark energy signature must have had a good reason. Worst case that Jinchuriki from Suna was on a rampage, he didn't look mentally stable from what he felt a few days ago. Regardless, he needed to keep an eye on the participants. He can't risk leaving now and the snake Chunin returning or more of Danzo's men creating a potential war. All he could do was wait, and what a better way than to work on the seals to remove on the root ninjas' tongues. His informant in TNI hasn't been able to get him any information on the last guy he sent in. Which should be simple unless they kill themselves. These root are trained to be elite, but it's their lack of emotion and speech restraint that keeps in line and unique. Without either, you just have a meat sack. Although there were a few who regained their emotion through intense pain and fear after the seal removal. Apparently Danzo did have some skill in Fuinjutsu and used to make sure his training regiment worked. The only good thing about this is Root hasn't turned on him and developed a superiority complex over traditional human thoughts. With the proper motivation and sealing, these ninja could literally be suicide bombs that could be influenced by anyone that's responsible for motivating them. A bad part for Naruto, if they were to do that then they'd be on a rampage and massacre the streets. Now was not the time to overthink things with wild conspiracy theories based on a wild hypothesis and very little evidence. For now all he could do was send a few clones with some extra chakra reserves to scout the forest until morning. The next morning, waking up, Naruto took the trees again and waited a little bit before dispelling his clones, hoping they get some early morning information in. The last thing he needed are memories of people arguing about shelter and a group of boys spooning to keep warm. So maybe he could find something useful among the many clones who've been wandering around the forest all night. That wasn't until later when he felt a clone dispel on its own. Clone's memory. After a long scouting mission around the forest several times, the clone saw Arashi's team. The boys were carefully tucked in under a hollow tree while the pink-haired girl was stuck having to play guard all night. Only a short while later 3 ninja wearing gray-colored camouflage clothes. "Remember, our mission is to find and kill Sasuke Uchiha," said the one with bandages over his face. "Yeah, we won't fail, Orochimaru-sama. After all it's just that pink-haired bitch and she doesn't look so tough," said the spiky-haired kid. "Of course, from what I remember Kabuto said she's pretty weak. She's given the least credit in every one of her missions. The only reason she's a kunoichi is because she's the daughter of a councilman. Then again most of the girls from Konoha are pretty weak," explained the bandaged boy. "Didn't he say that she was the kunoichi of the year?" asked the black-haired girl. "Yeah, and he said that you have to know the clone jutsu if you want to graduate," answered the bandaged boy. "Ha, Kin can do the same thing with her bells. The only difference is you can't break out with regular eyesight alone," said the spiky-haired boy. "So we can do it, right?" asked the female, assuming that was the one named Kin. "Yeah, let's get her," said the bandaged boy, ending the memory. With Naruto now. Naruto blinked twice and had all his clones dispel one at a time as he took off to where his clone was during the scene. Putting his energy into it, he made his way to that clearing. If anyone had any direct information on Orochimaru it had to be those genin. Even if they were just orders and the Chunin saw them as cannon fodder. After a long journey later, Naruto found Sakura having her hair being pulled on by Kin. From the looks of it, some bowl-haired kid who's dressed for pickle season was knocked out on the ground. He was likely joining the fight or was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Whoever he was, it didn't matter since Naruto didn't have too many skills in medicine. Fonda was only able to help him understand so much. Jumping down, Naruto tossed a kunai cutting Sakura's hair, freeing her grip from Kin before sending shadow shurikens at the other 2 boys. The boys either dodged them or destroyed them with strange sound vibration-based technology. Those that avoided being destroyed revealed clones that jumped onto the sound ninjas' backs and held tight. What the hell? What is this? Loli ho! The clones whispered as they blew up, burning the clothes of their back. Meanwhile, Naruto used a chain to grab Kin, who was still surprised, and dragged her at him. Naruto took a page out of a wrestling book and raised his arm up and slammed her with it as she came close. The impact was enough to make Kin cough up blood before taking a hard punch to the head, knocking her out. That left the two boys who were still awake. Avoiding several sound waves, Naruto jumped high in the air and made a couple of hand seals, tossing a ball of lightning at them that blew up like an explosive kunai, only with lightning instead of fire. The one with bandages was the first to recover, only to look up and take a baton swing, hitting him across the face before falling back down and being electrocuted in the back. The spiky-haired one was playing dead and kept himself ready to use his device, only to be lifted up and restrained by two clones. Naruto then proceeded to punch him in the gut and electrocute his shoulder. Orochimaru, is he your leader? Naruto asked. I don't even know what you're talking about. He lied. Naruto didn't like this and slowly put the baton against the boy's temple. Naruto hated torture, but to save the lives of many, he had to let one suffer, especially if it was just temporary. With that, he charged up only a little bit of his lightning chakra. I don't have all day, Naruto said, making the lightning's intensity go up. Like I'm afraid of some tree hugger, said the sound genin. Naruto kept a calm look and drastically increased the lightning to as high as possible for a second before setting it back to half power. Like I'd tell you. If I say something, he'll kill me. The sound genin roared, only to take a higher dosage of electricity. If you don't tell me, I'll kill you, Naruto said, jamming his other baton against the other side of his temple and amplified his lightning chakra into it. The boy screamed for about a minute until his knees gave up. Naruto then proceeded to use both on his chest, cooking him a bit before giving him a good eye jab. A few jabs later and the boy developed a black eye that was slowly blocking his vision as it swelled. Okay. Orochimaru wanted us to kill the Uchiha, the sound genin admitted. What else? Naruto asked, getting a shrug before taking a baton to the crotch. He wanted us to do it to test him, the genin said. Why? Naruto asked, connecting his batons together as a bow staff. The boy tried to struggle, only to take a staff strike to the head, almost cracking his headgear. Having enough of a beating, he just decided to say all he could remember from his orders. He gave the Uchiha a mark or some form of power. I think it was to see if he could fight back. Otherwise we could just kill him or leave him for dead, he said. Is that all? Naruto asked. You gotta believe me. Now I'm a dead man for snitching, the sound genin admitted. Making one more clone, Naruto ordered him to write a note. He gave his other clones the signal to restrain him and put chakra draining seals on him and remove the gauntlets. He ordered them to do the same with the other two as he read over the finished note. Naruto finished his job by leaving the sealing scroll in a lockbox tied to a tree and began to tie the sound genin to a tree while leaving a note. There was no doubt the higher-ranking shinobi would patrol the forest for survivors. If so, they would find those three with information on Orochimaru. Now all he had to do was check on the status of the Uchiha. Speaking of which, the bastard was awake and giving him crazy eyes. Was this kid an unstable Jinchuriki too by any chance? You'll be my new opponent. Die! Sasuke yelled. Naruto prepared himself and felt the impact as he blocked all the strikes. Sasuke was clearly more focused, faster and stronger, but lacked coordination and discipline. Naruto kept calm and avoided his attacks before using his bow staff to strike Sasuke's legs and use his lightning to trigger some nerves in his, making him go numb. Why can't I move? Sasuke demanded, only to take a jaw-breaking punch to the face. Naruto proceeded to knock him out while he was down. Don't you dare say anything. I don't need my ears to bleed, Naruto threatened as he looked at Sakura, who looked like she was about to say something. Sakura for her part felt feeble and crawled backwards on her back. She knew when to back down, and this guy beat her Sasuke-kun in a matter of a few seconds. Good girl, Naruto said before leaving and continuing his scouting. After he left, a Hyuga and girl with buns in her hair arrived and took the body of the kid with the bowl cut. Team 10 also spectated the fight and was rather afraid of the stranger who saved Sakura. A little horrified with how brutal he can be when it came to torturing the sound genin. Then they sweat dropped as Sakura quickly recovered Sasuke and then went to loot the unconscious bodies of the sound ninja and retrieved their scroll. This was going to be a long exam. Several days later, preliminaries. Team 7 narrowly arrived in time to see that everyone else who passed made it to the preliminaries. Mainly their entire graduating class, and at least one team from every main hidden village. This was going to be a long tournament. As said when the Yondaime explained the purpose behind the Chunin exams as it being a cover to use instead of war. With that said, too many people passed the second exam and a preliminary fight was needed to hopefully cut down the competition in half. When offered the chance to drop out, that silver-haired genin Kabuto took the chance and left claiming he was out of chakra, much to the dismay of Team 7 who he helped with gaining their heaven scroll after Orochimaru destroyed it. So with that out of the way, everyone else stayed and watched as the machine for the matches began. Following matches are canon. Sasuke vs Yoroi equals Sasuke wins. Gaara vs Lee equals Gaara wins. Tenten vs Temari equals Temari wins. Kankuro vs Misumi equals Kankuro wins. Hinata vs Neji equals Neji wins. Other fights. Ino vs Samui equals Samui wins. Kiba vs Jaden equals Jaden wins. Shino vs Suzumibaki equals Shino wins. Irony. Omoi vs Shikamaru equals Shikamaru wins. Koji vs Karui equals Koji wins. He also won a date. Kurachuchi vs Bastion equals Kurachuchi wins. Kirinin 1 vs Ches equals Ches wins. Arashi vs Kirinin 2 equals Arashi wins. Jesse vs Alexis equals Alexis wins. Sakura vs Blair equals Blair wins. Kirinin 3 vs Akechuchi equals winner Kirinin, OC Sato. After the long matches had ended, the finals was cut down to 16 competitors, meaning 8 matches. If likely, the exam finals would likely extend to 2 days depending on what the cages and visiting daimyos say. Overall, Minato thanked the competitors for participating and made them all take a number to determine who they would be fighting in the finals in 1 month's time. Round 1, Arashi vs Neji. Round 2, Sasuke vs Gaara. Round 3, Shikamaru vs Temari. Round 4, Shino vs Kankuro. Round 5, Ches vs Jaden. Round 6, Blair vs Alexis. Round 7, Koji vs Akechuchi. Round 8, Kurachuchi vs Sato. And thus Minato gave them permission to depart and let them get a head start on their training. For the next month was very important to utilize, as all contestants are given the chance to either stay or return home to train before the finals at the end of the month. There's no guarantee of becoming Chunin, but for the villages, it's a chance to show the strength of your village. One would say the father of Might Guy, Might Do, might be a perfect example. He might have been an eternal genin stuck finding the daimyo's wife cat for a good portion of his career, but the man was very strong. So strong he defeated 4 of the previous generation of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Overall, you don't need a fancy rank and jacket if it means reputation. However, the true strength is humility, not arrogance. Villages learn this the hard way through war. However, for those that have never lost their wars, continuing to spread the word of why they are superior. Some people, however, have some reason to prove why they are the strongest or among that group. Those that know that would prefer to keep it that way and will do anything to make their strength grow by gaining power. There is nothing wrong with self-improvement or training, but when it comes through dishonorable means, there is no excuse of what catastrophes could come from it. To gain, some people consider these to be noble sacrifices. Minato Namikaze needed to find his estranged son in order to use him as a sacrifice for more power and alliances. It's his duty as the younger child anyways. His rebellious attitude was unbecoming of a Namikaze, and not it was his time to fulfill his duties as a member of the village. One day later with Naruto. After several days of scouting, Naruto had little to make note of. After catching some rude shinobi and those sound genin, there was nothing worth noting. Orochimaru was long gone and he had little on Danzo so far. So with that, he felt the strain of the little sleep he had. So with that he decided to risk taking the day off. So taking a long shower, making sure he didn't catch any disgusting diseases from the forest of death. After all, you never know how much of it made contact with Anko, and nobody wants to touch Anko with or without her curse mark. Cue laughter from live audience. So after making up a somewhat believable excuse, Naruto decided to grab the kids and take them out for lunch. Maybe it was time for them to explore outside of the red light district. Despite that being the most stable and well-controlled place, it wasn't the only safe haven in the village. "Where are you taking us, Anaki?" Minori asked. "I'm still thinking about it. I know there's a barbecue restaurant. It's where all the genin hang out," Naruto suggested. The kids thought it over before shaking their head. "No thank you," Minori replied. "Well, how about?" Naruto stopped as Shiro started to wander off in another direction. "Shirona, wait for us," Tuya called out. Naruto grabbed Minori's hand and wheeled Tuya towards Shiro's location. When he found the redhead, he saw the boy intaking the smell of aroma of the food stand he was near. While the group's sweat dropped, Shiro felt as if he was kissed by an angel. "Shiro, don't wander off like that. What's gotten into you?" Naruto asked. "I smell something delicious." "What is it?" Shiro asked. Naruto looked to see some ramen shop. He sighed, that was the only thing his ex-family would eat. He's surprised none of them died from diabetes from so much intake. At least then Naruto would have been happy being a rich orphan that would use his status to help instead of taking things for himself. Maybe still help from the shadows and stop crime without anyone knowing. Kind of what he does now, but then again he might have to sacrifice Blackout Tift. In another universe. Achoo. A man in a black and gray outfit with a bat symbol on his chest wiped his nose with a tissue. Then a bald older man in a suit walked near him. "Bless you, Master Bruce," said the man. "Thank you, Alfred," replied the man in the strange suit, who's secretly a billionaire that fights crime and stops corruption in his city. "I better not be coming down with something. Evil doesn't sleep or stay inside during quarantine," he said before jumping into his oddly styled motor vehicle. "Godspeed, Master Bruce," said Alfred. Back to this universe. "Okay, so how about ramen?" Naruto asked. "Okay, I never tried it before," Minori answered. "Yeah, if Shirona thinks it's good then I'll try too," Tuya said. Naruto shrugged. "Fine, come on you tykes," he said, leading them in. As they entered, they were greeted by a father and daughter duo. "Hi, welcome to Ichiraku Ramen," said the joyful brunette. "Hi, we're first-timers and, hold on a sec," Naruto said as he helped Tuya out of his chair. "Sorry Otauto, I think you'll have to sit on my lap for this one," he said. "Okay," Tuya said, trying to adjust himself. It didn't matter since his brother says he'll be able to walk like everyone else in a few days. Tuya wouldn't feel like a burden when people have wheel him around. Then he'd be able to sit down by himself. "Okay, so what will it be, you three?" The kids looked at him with blank looks. Good grief, Naruto said to himself, remembering these kids still can't read properly without his help. Note, Shiro, Tuya, and Minori are all 7 and didn't have the chance to get a good education. So a few minutes later, the kids decided what they thought tasted the best. After a word of warning about finishing, they all agreed to some miso ramen. Of course the ramen chefs smiled at the sight of the children enjoying their meals and were more than pleased to see that they had manners and courtesy. That left a group of happy children and one said wallet for Naruto. Apparently the redhead of the group decided he enjoyed it the most. "Excuse me, but are you new to the village? I haven't seen you around," asked the brunette chef. "No, I've been here since my birth. Only I rarely step out of my home district unless my job demands it," Naruto answered. "Ayame, you know this village is heavily populated. You can't assume everyone you haven't met is a stranger," said the older chef from the back. "I know, To-san. I was just asking," Ayame replied. "So are you 3 full?" Naruto asked. "Yes, Anaki," they all answered. "Now what do you say to the nice ramen waitress?" Naruto asked. "Thank you for the meal, ma'am," The three said, making Ayame blush. You've really taught them good manners. Ayame complimented. I'm grateful to be the older brother of these tykes. Naruto said, ruffling Tuya's hair. Come on, you three. We still have time to look around before we head home. He said as placed Tuya back in his wheelchair and paid for the ramen. Thank you again, said Minori, waving goodbye to the nice ramen chefs. We should come here again another day, Anaki. Shiro said, rubbing his stomach. And now you're a glutton, Shiro. Naruto said, face palming himself. The kids laughed at the joke as they passed by a park. Naruto smiled as he saw the glint in their eyes. Then noticed the sad look in Tuya's eyes. Hey, about you two, go enjoy yourselves. Tuya and I have some catching up to do, Naruto said. Minori looked a bit sad as she looked at her twin. It's Minori, I'll be with Anaki, he said. Okay, come on, Shiro, Minori said as Shiro grabbed her hand and they ran to the park to play. Come on, Tuya, let's talk for a bit, Naruto said as he picked up Tuya and sat him down with him on a bench. The first few seconds were silent until Naruto spoke up again. So what's the first thing you want to do when you walk again, Otauto? He asked. Tuya smiled. I want to run in the fields with Nisan and Nei-chan, he answered. Oh, so exercising? Naruto asked. If you want, I could training you to be physically fit myself, Naruto said. Pfft, you're cool and all, Anaki, but you don't look tough. After all, that lady in the cat costume learned that the hard way, Tuya replied. Oh really? Naruto pulled off his jacket and revealed his toned arm muscles. I don't show off because I'm not arrogant. It's arrogance that makes it easy to beat someone up, Tuya. You gotta learn to be humble, he said. Tuya looked wide-eyed. Do you think I can be strong like you someday, Anaki? He asked. Sure, but do you know why I'm strong? Naruto asked with a smirk. Because you train all the time, Tuya asked innocently, earning a chuckle. That's a definite factor that helps, but it's not true strength, Naruto answered. Then what is it? Is it your cards? Tuya asked. No, Tuya, it's my bonds. This got a confused look from the boy. You see, when I was a kid, I was all alone in the world and nobody liked me. Then one day I woke up in Martha's orphanage and I was a big kid. So the little kids saw me as a big brother. That's when I became friends with Joey and Crow, he explained. So friends make you strong. How does that work? Tuya asked, still confused. In a way, it's about having someone precious to you. A pillar of strength. Someone who waits for you with open arms. It's someone worth protecting, and when you have that, that's when you truly become strong. Do you have someone you'd fight to protect? Naruto asked. Tuya's eyes wandered to Minori, who was going down a slide. Tuya smiled at the thought. He always felt like a hindrance and thought about the day Minori would just up and leave him. That day never came, and then came the day the orphanage was on fire and Naruto saved him. Tuya could have died with Minori that day if he gave up, but no matter how grim it was, he had someone precious to protect. Now he has Shiro and Naruto too. Two more people who look after him. Yeah, all my siblings are precious to me, Tuya answered with pride. You tykes are precious to me, yeah, no. Everyone at the orphanage too. That's why I train to become strong, so I can defend those who can't defend themselves. That's what true strength is, Naruto explained, getting a hug from Tuya. Anaki, can you promise never to leave me, Minori or Shiro? I don't want us to be alone anymore, Tuya said as he buried his face into his shirt. Sure I will, nothing will stop me from fighting for you three, Naruto said, wrapping an arm around the younger boy. Naruto felt some tears hearing what he had said. For once in his life, he wasn't denied a family, and it only became better when the three orphans he saved wanted him to be their elder brother. Sure, the other kids at the orphanage looked up to him, but he was more of a friend or friendly neighbor to them. Then there's Joey and Crow, who he saw as elder brothers, who gave him help and some advice. Serenity is younger, but he wasn't as close with her since she was Joey's little sister. As much as Naruto missed Ika, but there was nothing he could do to return to her. His life would only get worse, and she was a girl, so they'd likely turn her against him. Some things from the past just need to stay there. He learned his mistakes and overcame them, so why bother? All he needed to do was protect those close to him. Whether it's Martha, the orphans, his brothers, sister. Naruto. A voice called out. Yeah, Naruto. Wait, why would he need to protect Naruto? He is Naruto. It could be the idea of self-preservation along with the need to return to his family, but... Naruto, is that really you? The same voice called out. Naruto turned his head, realizing someone was talking to him. Who's there? Naruto asked, turning his head. It's me, Blair. Blair said with a nervous smile, waving her hand. Oh, hi Blair-chan, what brings you here? Naruto asked in a friendly tone. Just passing by, I saw someone with blonde hair and thought it was you. Blair said, trying to hide her nerves. Well, it's lovely to see you too, but I thought you had your test or something. Naruto said, playing the oblivious card. Yeah, that was yesterday, but the finals aren't until another month. So I just finished my team meeting. Blair explained. Naruto nodded. Well, I wish you luck, Blair. I hope you do well. He said, making her feel encouraged. Naruto, who is that boy? Blair asked, noticing Tuya. Naruto looked down and noticed that Tuya must have fallen asleep. Oh, this is my brother, Tuya. He must have fallen asleep. He said, raising the boy up. Oh, then why isn't he? Blair cut herself off as soon as she noticed the wheelchair besides Naruto. Sorry, I was about to bring that up. She said, looking towards the wheelchair. Naruto waves it off. Don't worry about it, I managed to cheer him up. He's getting his surgery in a couple days anyways. He said, making Blair feel better. Anyways, do you have your training scheduled? The exams aren't easy from the sounds of thing, and I heard at least one ninja from every main hidden village made it to the finals. He added, getting a nervous look. Well, Hayate-sensei is great and all, but he doesn't exactly have a strong water affinity to help me, and he's mainly a Kenjutsu expert. My teammate Jaden will practice with our friend Jesse and our sensei, but I really need help on my affinities, and my sensei doesn't use so much ninjutsu. So I'm kind of in a pickle and need to find some help. Blair explained, revealing the cause of her nerves. You know, I have a strong water affinity myself, right next to lightning and fire. Naruto replied, making her go wide-eyed. But I thought you didn't like ninja and that. Naruto raised his hand to stop her. Sometimes when you get desperate you have to pick up a few things. Naruto said as he pointed to the ground. Blair looked towards where he was pointing to see small drops of water rising up slowly, little by little. To the point larger capacities appeared and made a larger blob. Naruto then proceeded to wave his fingers around before it turned into a small dragon that moved around in the air, twirling before hitting the ground, making a small controlled splash away from them. And that was me putting too much control into something so little. If I let loose a bit I could have damaged something or someone. Naruto said. Blair gasped and then briefly remembered the scuffle between Naruto and those Chunin that passed into the finals. That only left her wondering who Naruto is and what he's capable of. All Blair could do was just clear her mind and pretend that nothing is wrong. I see, maybe I wouldn't mind visiting you for some advice. Blair said, still shaken by the power he holds. It was almost like the power the Nidime Hokage has. It's okay if you're not interested, but I'm always open for a visit when I'm not busy. Naruto said, wondering why she looked nervous. Almost as if, wait a minute, no, it couldn't be, there could have been a lot of genin that day he confronted the Suna ninja. Then again, there could have been a report and Naruto would have needed to cover his tracks. It is a genin's job to report strange actions like a civilian attacking a foreign ninja during a transition of peace. Then again, any genin could have been too afraid or absent-minded to report that incident. Maybe Naruto should keep an eye on Blair. Yeah, maybe we could meet up again at a later night. Blair said, hoping to confirm her suspicions without getting into any trouble. Sure, Blair-chan, come find me if you want to schedule a date. Naruto said as he noticed the sunset. It's getting late, I better take the Tykes home. He said as he gently lifted Tuya and placed him in his wheelchair. Oh Tauto, come on, we're going home now. I just need to grab your siblings, okay? He asked. Okay Aniki. Tuya responded, rubbing his eyes. Naruto smiled and went off to pick up Shiro and Minori at the playground on the park, leaving Tuya to clear his vision and notice Blair still sitting there. "Hi, I'm Blair. I'm a friend of your Aniki." She introduced herself. "Hi Blair, I'm Tuya." He responded, trying regain his energy. Blair chuckled, "Nice to meet you, Tuya. Your brother was talking about you right now," she said. "I bet it was about awesome I am," Tuya boasted. That too, but Tuya, can I ask you something about your brother?" Blair asked. "You don't need to, the answer is yes," Tuya asked. "You didn't let me ask the question," Blair said, feeling confused. "You were going to ask if you could be my Aniki's girlfriend, so I gave you my approval," Tuya said with a grin. Blair turned redder than an Uzumaki's hair. "No, I wasn't going to ask you that," she said before trying to compose herself. "I wanted to know, what do you think about your brother? Specifically, what kind of guy is he?" she asked. Tuya thought about it for a moment. "Aniki is a nice guy. At first we thought he was a stranger who liked to be alone, but it turned out he was a nice guy when he wants to be," he answered. Blair nodded. "And when he's not a nice guy?" she asked. "Well, you really have to try hard to make him mad, and worst thing he's done was put Shironia's white shirt with Minorine's clothing. Then he called him Gumball for a week," Tuya said, laughing. "Why did he do that?" Blair asked, wondering what warrants that kind of punishment. "Shirona was cooking something and Aniki said it tasted salty and was hot enough. So he put some kind of sauce that in Aniki's food that made him burn his mouth, but Martha-Kasan says he had to finish his food, so Aniki had to swallow the whole thing fast so he couldn't waste it," Tuya explained. "So it was petty vengeance. Any other times when he's not a nice guy?" Blair asked. "Well, there was that one time this other kid was being picked on by some lady dressed as a cat with a mummy on his back. Aniki grabbed the guy in a headlock and stuff and almost beat him after telling him to stop bullying kids because his grandpa was someone important," Tuya explained, somewhat confirming Blair's suspicions. "But that's how he always is. He doesn't like it when others picked on him or little kids. He said that the same happened to his friend Joey when ninjas attacked him. So he beats up bullies and other mean people to help others," Tuya finished. "So Naruto only fights for peace and self-defense?" Blair asked. "Yeah, because we're really important to him and he's really important to us. He says that he'll always fight if it means we're safe, and someday I'm gonna be strong so he won't have to fight anymore," Tuya said cheerfully, making Blair smile. Naruto returned shortly after with Shiro and Minori in hand. "Everyone, this is Blair. She's the friend I told you about," he said. "Hi Blair-san," both kids said. "Did you train them?" Blair asked, holding back a chuckle. "Nope, I was blessed with respectful and lovable siblings. Wouldn't trade them for anything in the world," Naruto said as he smiled at all three of them. "I should be going anyways. Do you want me to walk you home?" he asked. "No thanks Naruto. I'll see you later," Blair said as she excused herself. Naruto and the kids waved them off as they all left, returning to the orphanage. At the orphanage later, as the group returned, Naruto was surprised with the sight of Martha serving 2 cups of tea to a couple of adults. Naruto didn't recognize them, but kept his guard up anyways. One was clearly a young woman with tanned skin and long black hair with a necklace around her neck, while her companion was tanned and bald with a ponytail sticking out of the back of his head, and another thing worth noting was the tattoo over on the side of his face. "Naruto, I'm glad you're here. These 2 kind strangers are visiting the village to see you," Martha said, internally hoping Naruto isn't in trouble. You never know with strangers, they may seem nice and turn out to be troublemakers like the shinobi that attacked Naruto all those years ago. "Oh hello there, I'm Naruto," he said, approaching them and giving them handshakes. "Hello Naruto, I am Ishizu Ishtar and this is my brother Odion," Ishizu said. "A pleasure Naruto-san," Odion said, very stoic-like. Naruto nodded. "Thanks Ka-san, I can take it from here. You tykes better get ready for bed. I'll be there in a minute, okay?" he asked. The 3 children nodded as they made their way to their rooms with Martha, leaving Naruto alone with the strangers. As Naruto was about to say something, Ishizu revealed the design of her necklace. Naruto went wide-eyed as he recognized it. The necklace was a Millennium artifact like the puzzle, that makes it the 5th artifact he's come across. Where did you get that? Better yet, who are you people? Naruto asked, keeping his cool. Naruto-san, what we are about to say is important and you must listen closely. Odian said. Naruto crossed his arms as he took a seat. I'm listening. He said, narrowing his eyes. Naruto-san, my other brother, Merrick, and I are what are called grave keepers. Since the days of Egypt, our family has stayed hidden guarding 2 of the Millennium items. Ishizu started. Don't tell me your brother went insane and took one of them for himself. Naruto said, pinching the bridge of his nose. No, but he did almost lose his mind being underground for so long as per tradition. However, that changed 7 years ago when the Millennium items were scattered. Odian replied. Anyways, despite the items having been together, the Millennium necklace and Millennium rod are still bound to my family, making it simple for us to find them. However, now we are here as we learned through the power of my necklace that you have been chosen to wear the Millennium puzzle and succeed the pharaoh. Ishizu continued. Okay. So what is it you need now that you know I'm the next emperor of whatever? Naruto asked. Pharaoh of Egypt, my lord. Odian corrected. Anyways, as you should know, my item's power is to see the future. One of these prophecies predicts that a dark entity from the past has returned and will seek out the items at once within a few days' time. Ishizu said. So then you know about Akhenaten and Shadi? Naruto asked, getting a nod. Yes, it would be best if they avoid the battlefield should this entity return. However, from what I have seen, your current power alone is not enough to defeat the enemy. Ishizu stated. Thanks for the motivation. Naruto said sarcastically, seeing them look unfazed at the rude reply. It is true, you may be tasked with facing an enemy that hasn't surfaced the world since the last pharaoh's reign. Ishizu said. So what exactly am I facing? Naruto asked. I cannot say for certain the name, but it awakened from the power of a thief who seeked to plunge the world into darkness and attempted to do so by stealing the Millennium items. Akhenaten inadvertently helped in this cause by overthrowing the pharaoh many years ago, but now that he aims to redeem himself, we see no threat from him. Ishizu explained. So are you going to help me in any way besides warning me that I'm too weak to face the devil or whatever? Naruto asked. We do have something that will likely help in your battle. Seeing as the puzzle has chosen someone with not only a pure soul, but a strong will as well. Ishizu stated as she nodded at Odian to reveal a case. Opening it, Odian turned it to Naruto, revealing another card. Naruto took a closer look and saw a blue monster with a terrifying face and muscular build. Obelisk the Tormentor. Naruto raised his hand over it only to see Obelisk's red eyes glow, sending him some hostile aura. He knew that every card had some form of a spirit or sentient emotion. So it was likely this card either didn't like him or find him trustworthy yet. What is this card? It feels different compared to my own. Naruto stated. It is one of the cards that Pharaoh himself invoked to battle the Dark One and bring light back to Egypt. This is one of the Egyptian gods and likely one of the most powerful out of any card other than the Forbidden One. Ishizu replied. The Forbidden One? Is that the name of the guy I'm facing? Naruto asked. No, the Forbidden One's name is Exodia. A monster deemed too powerful and was forced to be split into 5 tablets before the concept of cards was made. Ishizu answered. You're telling me the dual monsters have taken the form of cards before? Naruto asked, feeling shocked and confused. Yes, before they were trapped in stone tablets, then as markings on devices called diad hanks, and finally some form of cards were made for Obelisk as the tablets were no longer strong enough to hold them and they take too much life force to summon in one go. Ishizu answered. Naruto sighed. It must be a bloodline to that no matter how hard you work you can't create something and take credit for it when in actuality someone did the same before. With the evidence lying before him in the form of something powerful and likely out of his control. That and there's no telling what would happen the moment he attempts to summon it, let alone put it with the rest of his cards. So are you planning to just give it away to me? Wouldn't you want to keep this for yourself? Let alone trust someone else with something this powerful? Naruto asked, feeling wary of these strangers. Because you are the heir to the kingdom of Egypt after all. Ishizu said optimistically. Naruto at this point decided to do what he should have done in the first place. Connecting with the Millennium puzzle, he began to detect the emotions of the two siblings. With Ishizu she found no deception and more of a sense of duty with heavy faith towards her beliefs which involve him. Odian for his part was calm and was hoping for Naruto to believe them. With a large part of his mind focused on assisting his siblings almost as if he owes them his free will, but nothing other than personal feelings are causing this desire, so he doubts Odian is under any control of an outside force. Naruto sighed before responding, "Okay, so what you want me to do is get stronger and face this dark entity of sorts." Ishizu nodded, and somehow develop the strength to summon this monster. Now with that, you said there were 3, but this is only 1. Where are the other 2? He asked. My brother Merrick holds one of them while the other is hidden away until we are sure you can handle summoning the gods. Ishizu answered. Well, that left Naruto in a pickle. Alright, I'll watch over the card and see what I can do about summoning it, but if this thing turns out to do more harm than good, you better take this back and return from wherever you came from. He said. Understood, I believe you can grow strong after all. What was once your burden will become your greatest resource. So do not consider gift to be a waste. Ishizu said cryptically. Come now Odian, we must meet up with Merrick and tell him the news. She said. Odian nodded as he helped his sister up. Right away, tell Martha-san thank you for her hospitality, Naruto-san. I bid you a good evening. Odian said as they both left Naruto alone with the evil-looking card. What the hell did I get myself into? Naruto asked himself as Obelisk's red eyes glowed as bright as ever. I should keep this safe and locked away. The last thing I need is someone crazy enough to cause Armageddon. He said to himself as he locked the case and took it with him. But what did Ishizu mean by burdens becoming gifts? Chapter 8, What Strength Means. A couple days after Ishizu's visit. After thinking over what Ishizu said, Naruto was left thinking about her supposed premonition. He went and consulted Akhenaten and explained everything she said. The old man in turn found her news disturbing and believable as he confirmed the Millennium necklace powers to see the future. Akhenaten was also able to lend some kind of idea of what Naruto was facing. In a nutshell, Akhenaten just reminded Naruto of the flashback he saw when they first met. With him filling in some gaps like Thief Bakura taking the ring and later summoning Zork. From then on he reminded Naruto of the Egyptian gods that were used to fight Zorks before they all fused and saved the kingdom. That was pretty much all Akhenaten could say, otherwise he was just repeating the same thing several times. At least now Naruto was sure who to trust out of all this. Now all he had to do was worry about continuing his training and being able to develop with will to summon an Egyptian god of all things. After all, it's not like he's summoning Kuraba. It took a day alone just for the beast to let him touch the card and another day just for it to be mixed with the other cards. Obelisk doesn't seem to be the one who accepts someone based on good deeds and a strong conviction. These are just moments when the heart of the cards isn't a good friend. Naruto, are you feeling alright? Asked a voice. Naruto looked at Blair. Yeah, just a lot on my mind. He answered. Is it your brother's surgery? Blair asked. And to top it off, Tuya is going to have his operation tomorrow. Both Naruto and the kids feel nervous about the outcome of the operation. Sure, Fonda and several other professionals can confirm everything will go well, but the surgery on its own isn't cheap, and it was thanks to a donation from a certain someone that they're able to afford it. The fact that it was experimental is what made him worry, so forget the money, he's more afraid of the outcome. Yeah, that too. Almost like it's the end of the world or something. Naruto answered. Yeah, way to be subtle, lady killer, he internally berated himself. I see, I never had siblings so I wouldn't understand. Blair said sadly. It's okay Blair, we all have our burdens and other things to worry about. Naruto said, reassuring her. Anyways, we shouldn't dwell on the bad side of things. We came here to forget the dark side of the world, right? He asked, trying to smile. Blair gave him a brave face. Sure. She answered, finding her hand holding tightly around his. The pair both had something making them nervous. Any day now they both had a high-stakes battle to face. Although they can say it like it isn't a big deal. The imagination of one's mind can be wild and infinite, but it can't always measure up or feel the same as what you experience. So for one night, Naruto and Blair wanted to keep each other company to forget everything else in the world. For tonight, the two would hope to take their minds off by enjoying a new sushi restaurant that opened up. A place that's new and open for people to experience. Where they serve food that you either hate or love, and only then is it possible for the opinion to change depending on how their experience is. Naruto, you should know you're the first guy who's taken me out on a date before. Blair said as they let go of their handhold. Yeah, I've never been on a date either, so you're my first too. Naruto said, feeling a bit embarrassed. The two chuckled nervously as they selected their meals off the plates from the conveyor belt in front of them. You know, I get nervous about dating because of the thought of being like a fangirl. Blair said. I get what you mean. I passed by a forest and saw some girl telling some chubby kid and skinny guy to walk some dogs they had with them. Something about her messing up her dress and nails. Naruto said when he passed by Team 10. I can imagine, out of 5 girls that passed. Only 2 of us take it seriously while 2 others do it for boys. Blair said, feeling a connection. Before Naruto picked a role he quickly did the math. What about the 5th one? He asked. She's a noble clan member, but she's way too soft. I mean, she's nice and has potential, but she was almost killed during the exams after refusing to give up when her body could barely move anymore. By a member of her clan of all people. Blair said, getting wide eyes. Seriously, I mean, there's bravery and there's stupidity. Better yet, there's being the underdog and already being buried 6 feet underground. Naruto said. Sorry, but it's true. Sure, if you can talk you can work, but if you are unable to work then it's better to stay silent. He added. Yeah, I feel bad for her, but I feel like she's just forcing it on herself. Blair said, remembering the Hyuga heiress being destroyed by her clan's prodigy. No matter how reckless her actions were. I hope she's alright and learns from the experience. Naruto said, trying to show some sincerity. Blair smiled, and as they were continued speaking. Blair immediately felt a sigh coming in, and Naruto didn't need to amplify his sensory skills to know this. Hey Blair, how ya doin'? Yelled a familiar voice. You look nice. What's the occasion? Asked another familiar voice. Blair groaned as she turned her head to see her 2 teammates. It's not that she hated them, and there were times she saw them as those annoying brothers she wouldn't trade for the world. So overall, she loved them, but now was not a good time to babysit. Guys, I'm kind of in the middle of something. Blair said, trying to prevent her stress from rising. Oh, what are you in a meeting? Jesse asked. Blair was about to say something when Naruto stood up. You guys mind leaving the lady alone? He said. Who are you? Jaden asked. That Jaden. Blair gestured to Naruto, is my date that you interrupted. She said. It took about 30 seconds for the energetic boys to process it. Oh, I get it. Jesse said, understanding what Blair said. What's a date? Jaden asked, getting a sweat drop from everyone. Is he slow? Naruto asked. I'm afraid so. Blair answered with a sigh. So after a long explanation, Jaden finally understood the concept of dating and relationships. For some reason he thought it was still foreign to him. Although he did support Blair in the idea and thought Naruto was a nice guy. No, I'm not bashing Jaden. He just seems to be funny whenever you remember that he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. That's why we all love him. Anyways, what are you 2 doing here? Blair asked. We wanted to try out the new restaurant. That and Alexis ignored us when we saw her. Jaden answered. Okay, so what do you guys want now? Blair asked. Jaden was about to answer when Jesse interrupted him. We just wanted to say hi. So now we're going to enjoy some tasty sushi elsewhere. Right, Jaden? He asked. Oh yeah, I'm really excited to try all the new food they have. See ya later, Blair. Jaden said, forgetting everything else as he left with Jesse. Well, they look friendly. Naruto commented. Only when they don't bug me, but those 2 are like the brothers I never had. Blair said with a sigh. That's good, at least you have some idea of how I feel. I love my brothers and sister, but sometimes they can be a handful. Naruto chuckled. I bet. How are they, by the way? Blair asked. They're fine, but Tuya and I have been feeling nervous about his operation. I just hope everything goes well. Naruto said. You know, Tuya told me that he wants to get strong one day so you don't have to keep fighting for him and the others. Blair said. So did Shiro and Minori. I swear I won't need kids if I have those tykes in my life. As long as I have a family, I'm pretty much set for life. Naruto explained. That's what a bunch of shinobi want in the future too. To settle down and have a family. Something we could just have staying civilians, but honestly, I don't know what I want. Blair admitted. It's not easy to think about the future, especially if you stress about today. One day I say my siblings are enough and the next I might want to have a tyke of my own. Someone for the tykes to take care of if I'm not around. Naruto explains as he takes a drink from his glass. It's probably that one thing. That one thing you just have to ask yourself, Blair. He said, looking at her in the eye. What is it? Blair asked. You have to ask yourself, what makes me happy? Or, what is my purpose? And that's what kept me up at night for a good portion of my life. There is no right or wrong answer because you have to answer that yourself. Naruto answered. Blair nodded, true, maybe I'll figure it out someday. Whether it's having a family or I don't know, becoming Hokage. She laughed. Naruto smiled, but didn't think it was funny. The title of Hokage may be a joke now, but it's no laughing matter. Many people sacrificed themselves to this day and their legacy. The dying wish of every loyal shinobi is that their loyalty is not in vain and their memories live on. For all is one and one is all, the will of fire has turned into a flickering light. Before they realized it, the night came sooner than they realized. Naruto took note of this first before saying anything. It's late, do you want me to take you home? Naruto asked. Sure, I don't want my parents to get worried. Blair answered as they both got up. Naruto paid for meals and escorted Blair out of the restaurant. However, something caught Naruto's senses, making him internally growl. Or maybe Kurama's attitude was passing on to him, after all the fox was a cousin of the canines. Then again it would explain why he felt a specific pair of eyes watching him from a distance. Naruto, I have a confession to make. Blair said, catching his attention. What is it, Blair? Naruto asked, still nervous about whatever's watching him. You see, a while before the exams started, I heard some fighting and found someone fighting a kid in a catsuit, and then I was detected. I briefly saw who was fighting and Blair cut herself off as Naruto gently grabbed her hands and raised them. Blair, if that was you who was hiding that day, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I was helping some kid who was getting picked on by that Suna ninja. Seeing that really pissed me off since it reminded me of my childhood and the time my friend Joey was assaulted. Naruto explained, calming her a bit. No, I can't feel bad whenever he mentions his bad past. Blair thought, strengthening her resolve. Anyways, I don't want to sound like a charity case, but I don't want you to have that impression that I'm a bad person. So, I want to apologize if I seemed threatening. Naruto finished. Naruto, I get that you're a nice guy and sometimes you can't resolve things peacefully. But I can help it if I feel unsure or even a little bit afraid. Blair said, looking away. Shit. Naruto thought. Blair's head soon turned back as she felt Naruto wrap his arms around her. Before she could object and push him away, they both found themselves on the ground. Blair's eyes went wide as she saw several kunai pass by where they were standing. Naruto quickly picked up Blair and led her around an alleyway as they avoided more projectiles. Blair, stay down. Naruto ordered before she could object. Blair attempted to get up and help, only to avoid several kunai. The next thing she knew, Naruto disappeared, and seconds later, an umbu was sent skidding against the ground. Quickly recovering, Naruto appeared, and they both engaged in some taijutsu where Naruto quickly started to overwhelm the elite operative. Naruto, what are you doing? Blair yelled out. He's not what he seems. He works for the elders, not the Hokage. Naruto yelled, taking a punch only to rush the umbu and slam him into a wall. At this point Blair wasn't sure what to believe. Sure, it's her duty as a ninja to assist a member of her forces, especially a high-ranking officer if possible. However, what also grabbed her attention is why an Umbu, an elite shinobi of the village, attacked Naruto? Was it the fact he was a civilian with skills in ninjutsu? Even if that was true, was that enough to warrant a death sentence? Back with Naruto, he was about to take a ninjato to the face when he grabbed the blade with one hand, making him grit his teeth in pain. The Umbu, however, used all his might with both hands to push his blade, ignoring Naruto's other hand as he poured a good amount of chakra to his fist and began to punch his attacker's elbow, slowly making it snap. The Umbu yelled in pain as he let narrowly dropping his blade. That left a power struggle for the two combatants to take control of the blade. Naruto was struggling more as his hand was gripping the blade and slicing into his hand, while the Umbu pulled out another kunai and attempted to swing at Naruto, who avoided the slashes until he grabbed his wrist. Using all the strength he could put into his good hand, Naruto slowly began to crush his adversary's wrist, forcing him to drop the kunai. Meanwhile, Blair was still struggling to think of what to do. On one hand, she could save Naruto and stop a random attack. The other, she could be assisting in a criminal act. That only left her thinking between her duty and her feelings. The latter she was trained to ignore when it comes to the life as a shinobi. Sure, Naruto was in trouble and in a lot of pain, but then there was the Umbu, who likely had a good reason to do this. Now was a really bad time to think this over, and she could see a crowd forming up. With Naruto, he managed to take control and rip the blade out while hitting the Umbu in the mask with his elbow. The Umbu didn't feel pain and in return tripped Naruto with his leg, leaving the two to tussle around on the ground. Naruto for his part kept punching the mask as it slowly cracked, only to take a headbutt followed by a stab to the shoulder and another one missing enough to nick his ear. Naruto fought back as the two struggled to stay on top and land the final blow, when suddenly they both heard the loud sound of flesh being impaled. Both stopped as Naruto fell on his back, panting and looking down, then looking to his side to see Blair impaling the Umbu with a kunai in the gut. "Blair-chan!" Naruto called out, getting a smile from the girl. Blair was about to speak when she took a punch to the throat. Naruto got angry and rushed the Umbu and knocked him on the ground again, landing several more blows, smashing the lower part of the mask and knocking the top part off. Naruto was subjected to an angry, feral-looking man who was growling, "Freaking Inuzuka! Piece of shit! I thought you were loyal. Now I find one of you working for Danzo." Naruto yelled, landing a punch every time he spoke until the Inuzuka agent lost consciousness. That's when a fox-masked Umbu landed in the middle close to Naruto. "You're done, kid. I'll take it from here," said the Umbu. Naruto turned his head and immediately made an annoyed face. "Who are you?" he asked. The face behind the mask smiled. "Oh come on, it's me, remember?" Fox asked. "Why are you always here at the last minute when I'm almost dead?" Naruto asked back. "I'm here now, aren't I?" Fox asked. Naruto and Fox turned their heads to hear Blair moaning in pain as she tried to stand up. Naruto ran to her side and helped her up. "Blair-chan, are you alright?" Naruto asked, holding her close. "Why yes, a little hurt," she struggled to say. "Crap, I didn't mean to ruin our date," Naruto said as she laid her head on his shoulder. "Naruto, this isn't a good time to be sentimental with your girlfriend," Fox said, making them blush. "Anyways, what do you want to do with this guy? He's clearly rude, and he might explode or something if I have him sent directly to T&I," he explained. A woman among the forming crowd moved closer and watched as the rude Umbu was lifted up. She gasped as she got a good look at the young man's face and watched as her daughter came close. With that facial look, there was no doubt that she could identify who that man dressed in Umbu attire was. "Ka-san, are you alright?" her daughter asked. "Alexis, wait here," the mother said, approaching Fox. Fox noticed her coming close. "Ma'am, please stay back. This is currently a crime scene and I'd prefer it if you stay away from the perp," he said, only for the woman to grab the man and see his face. As Fox was about to remove her, she began to cry as she pulled out a locket. "Sir, you have to believe me. This is no criminal. This is my missing son," she cried, showing him her locket. Fox took it reluctantly and looked at it. He looked surprised as the photo showed a woman with two children, with the boy looking like the rude Umbu. This was a lot to take in, and it didn't help when the daughter appeared. "Ka-san, what are you doing?" she asked with concern in her voice. "Alexis, is that you?" Blair asked, straining her voice. "Blair, please, you might hurt your throat," Naruto warned. Alexis moved to her mother as Fox sighed that nobody listened to him. Not even the civilians think the law matters. What kind of world was Hashirama Senju planning on creating? "Oh my Kami!" Alexis gasped. "Alexis, he's back!" her mother Mercy cried. "What?" Fox asked. "Ka-san, that can't be." Alexis trailed off. "It is. It's Atticus. He's your brother, Alexis," Mercy cried. "What the hell?" Naruto asked. "Listen, ma'am, I need to have him detained for questioning," Fox said. "Please take us with you. I can't be separated from my child again," Mercy pleaded. "Just do it," Naruto told Fox. Fox sighed. "Fine, ma'am, can you and your daughter place a hand on my shoulder? I need to shunshin to a clinic where I will interrogate him from there," he explained. Mercy and Alexis didn't like the sound of it but had to follow through it. If it meant reuniting with their son/brother, then they had to take it. So, with that they grabbed on and all disappeared. "Blair, I think I need to make sure your throat is fine. Can you walk, or do I need to take you myself?" Naruto asked. Blair tried to move on her own only to almost collapse. As Naruto caught her, he lifted her bridle style, making her blush. "I guess not, you must have sprained your leg when you fell. I guess I'll have to take us there directly," Naruto said as they disappeared in a flash of lightning. It was only moments later more Umbu arrived, wondering what happened. Which led to strange reports of a mysterious fox-masked Umbu detaining another Umbu that was rogue. This was something very strange they had to report to the Hokage. At the clinic, a little while later, Fonda managed to help relieve Blair of her throat pain as well as giving her something to fix her speech. Then there was the matter of her leg needing to be iced, but nothing too serious. She'd be fine by tomorrow afternoon and wouldn't have to worry about it affecting her long-term schedule. Then there was Naruto, who had a couple of bruises and had to get his hand disinfected and bandaged. That left him with a sour look from his favorite doctor. "What?" Naruto asked. "You let him hurt you?" Fonda said. "I don't know what you mean," Naruto defended. "Naruto, you only visit for opinions and serious injuries. You obviously held back during that fight. I know you aren't stupid enough to grab a sword by its blade," Fonda explained. "Wait, you were holding back?" Blair asked. "I didn't want." He didn't want to show off in front of his girlfriend, clearly. Or maybe he wanted to use the injured puppy act to tug your heartstrings, Fonda said to Blair as Naruto blushed. "You purposely got yourself hurt?" Blair practically yelled. "Hey, I was just reckless this time," Naruto defended. "Besides, I'd halfway expect you to attack me thinking that Umbu worked for the village. Isn't it your duty as a shinobi?" he asked. "Naruto, I don't know who that was or why he attacked, but I just knew what to do. It was a moment full of pressure and that left me with one option. Seeing that I knew I had to do the right thing no matter what my code said," Blair explained, looking down. "Blair-chan, none of that here, mister. You've upset your girlfriend. Wait until I tell your Martha," Fonda said, being dramatic. "Come on, leave Martha out of this," Naruto whined. "Who's Martha?" Blair asked. "His adoptive mother who runs the orphanage. You should have seen her face light up when she learned Naruto-chan here got his first date with a pretty girl," Fonda said, teasing the pair as they turned red. "I hate you," Naruto said, crying anime tears. "That's not what your Valentine's gift for me said," Fonda saying. "I was 8 years old," Naruto said. "And now I find out you're taken. Oh, you womanizer, you left me for a younger woman," Fonda said, faking her tears. "Why do you do this to me?" Naruto asked with a sigh. Fonda giggled, "Because it's my job. Anyways, I'll just take the money from your account for today's visit. I'm also charging you for that Rogumbu and anything he breaks," she said. "All right, Blair-chan, would you like me to walk you home? Naruto asked. Blair was about to answer when Fonda interrupted. Walk? You have no tact. You have to carry your girlfriend the whole way there, you little moron. Don't even think about using any ninjutsu to make it easy. Better yet, you have to do it the same way you carried her in. She explained. When did you become my counselor? Naruto asked. Naruto, if you don't mind, I'd like to see how Alexis is doing. Blair said as she got up and felt some pain in her leg. Here, let me help you. Naruto said. I said carry, but what does a licensed doctor know? Everyone wants alcoholic son in with a gambling disorder. Fonda said with the roll of her eyes. Naruto and Blair ignored her and left the room and went down the hall to see Alexis gripping bottle of water. Hey Alexis, how is your brother holding up? Blair asked. He's not himself. Ka-san can't snap him out of it and the Umbu can't get him to say anything even though his weird tongue seal is gone. Alexis answered sadly. So, he's practically a vegetable? Naruto asked. Yeah, I guess. Who are you, by the way? Alexis asked. Naruto, I'm a friend of Blair-chan. He said, shaking her hand. With a suffix like that it sounds like you're more than friends. Alexis said with a weak grin. Alexis, not you too. Blair whined. As the three continued to talk, they heard someone come in. A familiar person that Naruto knew and trusted since the day after he met him. The man's pupilless eyes gazed upon Naruto's group, which made the girls feel nervous as he approached. Naruto, as good as it is to see you, I believe your fox friend has called me. What is the problem? He asked. Shoddy, good to see you too. I think the problem is the patient behind this door. He's not responsive and everything we believe something else is influencing him. Naruto explained, already knowing since he snuck a clone hunged as another Umbu into the room where they're holding Atticus. Shoddy nodded. Please take me to him. I will see what is wrong with his mind. He said. Girls, I'll be right back. Shoddy is a specialist when it comes to the mind. He may not be as quick or versatile as Yamanaka, but he's more effective. Naruto explained, getting nods. The two walked in to find Mercy with pink eyes, likely from failing to get a word out of her son. Fox looked a bit stressed. Well, Naruto sensed his intentions and it was to fall asleep and call it a night. His clone was being itself and just stood there pretending it was someone else. Oh, good, he's here. Ma'am, let me introduce you to Shoddy-shin. He's no Yamanaka, but he's actually much more effective. Fox said, introducing their ancient Egyptian friend. I'm Mercy Rhodes, I'm the mother of Atticus-kun. Is it true you can save my son's mind? She asked. From what I understand, something else is manipulating his mind. For I can either bring him out his humanity or end his mind. Rest assured, I will do my best to reunite you with your family, madam. Shoddy explained. Please help him, my children mean the world to me. Mercy cried as she stepped out of they realized it, the night came sooner than they realized. Naruto took note of this first before saying anything. It's late, do you want me to take you home? Naruto asked. Sure, I don't want my parents to get worried. Blair answered as they both got up. Naruto paid for meals and escorted Blair out of the restaurant. However, something caught Naruto's senses, making him internally growl. Or maybe Kurama's attitude was passing on to him. After all, the fox was a cousin of the canines. Then again, it would explain why he felt a specific pair of eyes watching him from a distance. Naruto, I have a confession to make. Blair said, catching his attention. What is it, Blair? Naruto asked, still nervous about whatever's watching him. You see, a while before the exams started, I heard some fighting and found someone fighting a kid in a catsuit, and then I was detected. I briefly saw who was fighting and Blair cut herself off as Naruto gently grabbed her hands and raised them. Blair, if that was you who was hiding that day, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I was helping some kid who was getting picked on by that Suna ninja. Seeing that really pissed me off, since it reminded me of my childhood and the time my friend Joey was assaulted. Naruto explained, calming her a bit. No, I can't feel bad whenever he mentions his bad past. Blair thought, strengthening her resolve. Anyways, I don't want to sound like a charity case, but I don't want you to have that impression that I'm a bad person. So, I want to apologize if I seemed threatening. Naruto finished. Naruto, I get that you're a nice guy and sometimes you can't resolve things peacefully. But I can help it if I feel unsure or even a little bit afraid. Blair said, looking away. Shit. Naruto thought. Blair's head soon turned back as she felt Naruto wrap his arms around her. Before she could object and push him away, they both found themselves on the ground. Blair's eyes went wide as she saw several kunai pass by where they were standing. Naruto quickly picked up Blair and led her around an alleyway as they avoided more projectiles. Blair, stay down. Naruto ordered before she could object. Blair attempted to get up and help only to avoid several kunai. The next thing she knew, Naruto disappeared and seconds later, an umbu was sent skidding against the ground. Quickly recovering, Naruto appeared, and they both engaged in some taijutsu where Naruto quickly started to overwhelm the elite operative. Naruto, what are you doing? Blair yelled out. He's not what he seems. He works for the elders, not the Hokage. Naruto yelled, taking a punch only to rush the umbu and slam him into a wall. At this point Blair wasn't sure what to believe. Sure, it's her duty as a ninja to assist a member of her forces, especially a high-ranking officer if possible. However, what also grabbed her attention is why an umbu, an elite shinobi of the village, attacked Naruto? Was it the fact he was a civilian with skills in ninjutsu? Even if that was true, was that enough to warrant a death sentence? Back with Naruto, he was about to take a ninjato to the face when he grabbed the blade with one hand, making him grit his teeth in pain. The umbu, however, used all his might with both hands to push his blade. Ignoring Naruto's other hand as he poured a good amount of chakra to his fist and began to punch his attacker's elbow, slowly making it snap. The umbu yelled in pain as he let narrowly dropping his blade. That left a power struggle for the two combatants to take control of the blade. Naruto was struggling more as his hand was gripping the blade and slicing into his hand. While the umbu pulled out another kunai and attempted to swing at Naruto, who avoided the slashes until he grabbed his wrist. Using all the strength he could put into his good hand, Naruto slowly began to crush his adversary's wrist, forcing him to drop the kunai. Meanwhile, Blair was still struggling to think of what to do. On one hand, she could save Naruto and stop a random attack. The other, she could be assisting in a criminal act. That only left her thinking between her duty and her feelings. The latter she was trained to ignore when it comes to the life as a shinobi. Sure, Naruto was in trouble and in a lot of pain, but then there was the umbu who likely had a good reason to do this. Now was a really bad time to think this over, and she could see a crowd forming up. With Naruto, he managed to take control and rip the blade out while hitting the umbu in the mask with his elbow. The umbu didn't feel pain and in return tripped Naruto with his leg, leaving the two to tussle around on the ground. Naruto for his part kept punching the mask as it slowly cracked, only to take a headbutt followed by a stab to the shoulder and another one missing enough to nick his ear. Naruto fought back as the two struggled to stay on top and land the final blow. When suddenly they both heard the loud sound of flesh being impaled. Both stopped as Naruto fell on his back, panting and looking down. Then looking to his side to see Blair impaling the umbu with a kunai in the gut. Blair-chan! Naruto called out, getting a smile from the girl. Blair was about to speak when she took a punch to the throat. Naruto got angry and rushed the umbu and knocked him on the ground again, landing several more blows, smashing the lower part of the mask and knocking the top part off. Naruto was subjected to an angry, feral-looking man who was growling. Freaking Inuzuka. Piece of shit. I thought you were loyal. Now I find one of you working for Danzo. Naruto yelled, landing a punch every time he spoke until the Inuzuka agent lost consciousness. That's when a fox-masked umbu landed in the middle close to Naruto. You're done, kid. I'll take it from here, said the umbu. Naruto turned his head and immediately made an annoyed face. Who are you? He asked. The face behind the mask smiled. Oh come on, it's me, remember? Fox asked. Why are you always here at the last minute when I'm almost dead? Naruto asked back. I'm here now, aren't I? Fox asked. Naruto and Fox turned their heads to hear Blair moaning in pain as she tried to stand up. Naruto ran to her side and helped her up. Blair-chan, are you alright? Naruto asked, holding her close. Why yes, a little hurt. She struggled to say. Crap, I didn't mean to ruin our date, Naruto said as she laid her head on his shoulder. Naruto, this isn't a good time to be sentimental with your girlfriend, Fox said, making them blush. Anyways, what do you want to do with this guy? He's clearly rude, and he might explode or something if I have him sent directly to T&I. He explained. A woman among the forming crowd moved closer and watched as the root Umbu was lifted up. She gasped as she got a good look at the young man's face and watched as her daughter came close. With that facial look, there was no doubt that she could identify who that man dressed in Umbu attire was. Ka-san, are you alright? Her daughter asked. Alexis, wait here, the mother said, approaching Fox. Fox noticed her coming close. Ma'am, please stay back. This is currently a crime scene and I'd prefer it if you stay away from the perp, he said, only for the woman to grab the man and see his face. As Fox was about to remove her, she began to cry as she pulled out a locket. Sir, you have to believe me. This is no criminal. This is my missing son, she cried, showing him her locket. Fox took it reluctantly and looked at it. He looked surprised as the photo showed a woman with 2 children, with the boy looking like the root Umbu. This was a lot to take in, and it didn't help when the daughter appeared. Ka-san, what are you doing? She asked with concern in her voice. Alexis, is that you? Blair asked, straining her voice. Blair, please, you might hurt your throat, Naruto warned. Alexis moved to her mother as Fox sighed that nobody listened to him. Not even the civilians think the law matters. What kind of world was Hashirama Senju planning on creating? Oh my Kami! Alexis gasped. Alexis, he's back, her mother Mercy cried. What? Fox asked. Ka-san, that can't be. Alexis trailed off. It is. It's Atticus. He's your brother, Alexis, Mercy cried. What the hell? Naruto asked. Listen, ma'am, I need to have him detained for questioning, Fox said. Please take us with you. I can't be separated from my child again, Mercy pleaded. Just do it, Naruto told Fox. Fox sighed. Fine, ma'am, can you and your daughter place a hand on my shoulder? I need to shunshin to a clinic where I will interrogate him from there, he explained. Mercy and Alexis didn't like the sound of it but had to follow through it. If it meant reuniting with their son/brother, then they had to take it. So, with that they grabbed on and all disappeared. Blair, I think I need to make sure your throat is fine. Can you walk or do I need to take you myself? Naruto asked. Blair tried to move on her own only to almost collapse. As Naruto caught her, he lifted her bridle style, making her blush. I guess not, you must have sprained your leg when you fell. I guess I'll have to take us there directly, Naruto said as they disappeared in a flash of lightning. It was only moments later more Umbu arrived, wondering what happened, which led to strange reports of a mysterious fox-masked Umbu detaining another Umbu that was rogue. This was something very strange they had to report to the Hokage. At the clinic, a little while later, Fonda managed to help relieve Blair of her throat pain as well as giving her something to fix her speech. Then there was the matter of her leg needing to be iced, but nothing too serious. She'd be fine by tomorrow afternoon and wouldn't have to worry about it affecting her long-term schedule. Then there was Naruto, who had a couple of bruises and had to get his hand disinfected and bandaged. That left him with a sour look from his favorite doctor. What? Naruto asked. You let him hurt you? Fonda said. I don't know what you mean, Naruto defended. Naruto, you only visit for opinions and serious injuries. You obviously held back during that fight. I know you aren't stupid enough to grab a sword by its blade, Fonda explained. Wait, you were holding back? Blair asked. I didn't want. He didn't want to show off in front of his girlfriend, clearly. Or maybe he wanted to use the injured puppy act to tug your heartstrings, Fonda said to Blair as Naruto blushed. You purposely got yourself hurt? Blair practically yelled. Hey, I was just reckless this time, Naruto defended. Besides, I'd halfway expect you to attack me thinking that Umbu worked for the village. Isn't it your duty as a shinobi? He asked. Naruto, I don't know who that was or why he attacked, but I just knew what to do. It was a moment full of pressure and that left me with one option. Seeing that I knew I had to do the right thing no matter what my code said. Blair explained looking down. Blair Chan. None of that here, mister. You've upset your girlfriend. Wait until I tell your Martha. Fonda said, being dramatic. Come on, leave Martha out of this. Naruto whined. Who's Martha? Blair asked. His adoptive mother who runs the orphanage. You should have seen her face light up when she learned Naruto-chan here got his first date with a pretty girl. Fonda said, teasing the pair as they turned red. I hate you. Naruto said, crying anime tears. That's not what your Valentine's gift for me said. Fonda saying. I was 8 years old. Naruto said. And now I find out you're taken. Oh, you womanizer, you left me for a younger woman. Fonda said, faking her tears. Why do you do this to me? Naruto asked with a sigh. Fonda giggled, because it's my job. Anyways, I'll just take the money from your account for today's visit. I'm also charging you for that Rogumbu and anything he breaks. She said. Alright, Blair-chan, would you like me to walk you home? Naruto asked. Blair was about to answer when Fonda interrupted. Walk? You have no tact. You have to carry your girlfriend the whole way there, you little moron. Don't even think about using any ninjutsu to make it easy. Better yet, you have to do it the same way you carried her in. She explained. When did you become my counselor? Naruto asked. Naruto, if you don't mind, I'd like to see how Alexis is doing. Blair said as she got up and felt some pain in her leg. Here, let me help you. Naruto said. I said carry, but what does a licensed doctor know? Everyone wants alcoholic son in with a gambling disorder. Fonda said with the roll of her eyes. Naruto and Blair ignored her and left the room and went down the hall to see Alexis gripping bottle of water. Hey Alexis, how is your brother holding up? Blair asked. He's not himself. Ka-san can't snap him out of it and the Umbu can't get him to say anything even though his weird tongue seal is gone. Alexis answered sadly. So, he's practically a vegetable? Naruto asked. Yeah, I guess. Who are you by the way? Alexis asked. Naruto, I'm a friend of Blair-chan. He said, shaking her hand. With a suffix like that it sounds like you're more than friends. Alexis said with a weak grin. Alexis, not you too. Blair whined. As the three continued to talk, they heard someone come in. A familiar person that Naruto knew and trusted since the day after he met him. The man's pupilless eyes gazed upon Naruto's group, which made the girls feel nervous as he approached. Naruto, as good as it is to see you, I believe your fox friend has called me. What is the problem? He asked. Shoddy, good to see you too. I think the problem is the patient behind this door. He's not responsive and everything we believe something else is influencing him. Naruto explained, already knowing since he snuck a clone hunged as another Umbu into the room where they're holding Atticus. Shoddy nodded, please take me to him. I will see what is wrong with his mind. He said. Girls, I'll be right back. Shoddy is a specialist when it comes to the mind. He may not be as quick or versatile as Yamanaka, but he's more effective. Naruto explained, getting nods. The two walked in to find Mercy with pink eyes, likely from failing to get a word out of her son. Fox looked a bit stressed. Well, Naruto sensed his intentions and it was to fall asleep and call it a night. His clone was being itself and just stood there pretending it was someone else. Oh, good, he's here. Ma'am, let me introduce you to Shoddy-shin. He's no Yamanaka, but he's actually much more effective. Fox said, introducing their ancient Egyptian friend. I'm Mercy Rhodes, I'm the mother of Atticus-kun. Is it true you can save my son's mind? She asked. From what I understand, something else is manipulating his mind. For I can either bring him out his humanity or end his mind. Rest assured, I will do my best to reunite you with your family, madam. Shoddy explained. Please help him, my children mean the world to me. Mercy cried as she stepped out of the room. We will, ma'am. Naruto said as she closed the door behind her. The clone dispelled and Shoddy pulled the Millennium key. You two will have to grab on. If this is related to chakra, I can only assume users such as yourselves can help. He said. Right, let's go Kurama. Fox nodded as they both grabbed on. Atticus Mindscape. Naruto looked around to see a literal broken home covered in black ink like vines, with strange red eyes forming around it. It would seem that his mind represents a home of some kind. Shadi said as he led the way. It's cleaner than your mind. Naruto turned to see Fox replaced with the Kyuubi no Yoko. Laugh it up Kurama. Naruto said. The pair followed Shadi as he entered the house. Upon entry they could see the shadows of his memories all being tangled up by the black vines. Either this poor man was under the influence or someone else was influencing him. Most likely the latter, as Shadi can see nothing natural could cause this. I recognize these eyes. Kurama growled. What are they? Are these eyes the reason behind the entanglement of Atticus's mind? Shadi asked. They are the Sharingan. Kurama said, looking angry. Isn't the Sharingan kind of endangered? I mean, the only Uchiha left are the elderly, a few toddlers, that bastard child Sasuke and his mother Mikoto. Naruto replied. Yes, but this is clearly the second stage. The Mangekyo to be exact. In this form the Uchiha develop new abilities and not all are capable of the same abilities. Kurama replied. Is this not Genjutsu? It is the ability of the Dojutsu after all. Shadi said from his memory of his studies of the three great Dojutsu. In a way, but I remember that it took Madara to enter his final stage to control me. Clearly the Uchiha who did this was not as powerful, but strong enough to shatter the mind of this human. The seal was likely there to make him function. Kurama explained. If what you are saying is the truth, then there is likely another Uchiha out there or someone who managed to get their hands on an implant. Shadi said. Only the more reason Danzo needs to be taken down. Naruto spoke up, getting nods. The trio continued to make their way further into the house, seeing many memories of the past being repressed. Making their way deeper they found an entity in the shape of Atticus being strung up by the vines. Naruto approached Atticus and began to snap his fingers and slapped him around a few times. Please refrain from assaulting him. It is unbecoming of a pharaoh. Shadi said as Kurama laughed. Fine, he won't respond anyways. Naruto said in a defeated tone. That's why Shadi is here, Baka. Kurama said. That left Naruto and Kurama glaring at each other while Shadi pulled out the Millennium scales. Raising them up, the feather of Ma'at began to lower. The scales never lie, and they say Atticus has a good soul. Now for the eyes. Shadi said, raising the Millennium scales again. The eyes went wide, revealing 3 tomo before phasing on and off before transforming into a 4-pointed shuriken. Shadi looked unfazed, believing this to be the Mangekyo Kurama mentioned. The scales began to move again, lowering the side that didn't have the feather to as low as it could. The eyes went wide for a moment as if they were in pain before they middled along with the rest of the vines, dropping Atticus. Helping him up, Naruto sat Atticus down as all the vines let go of the memories around the house, hopefully freeing Atticus's mind. Okay, now that we cleared that up, should we return to reality and see if he's fine? Naruto asked as Atticus began to twitch and moan. We might as well. Everything looks clear. Shadi answered. Reality. Atticus. Atticus? Hey, wake up. Naruto called out, only to get slapped by Kurama, who went back to his fox henge. Baka, go get Fonda and tell her he's waking up. Kurama said in a scolding tone. Naruto sighed as he left and came back a couple minutes later. So, this is my patient. Fonda said as she looked at Atticus, who was adjusting his vision. You know, if it wasn't for the feral look and the fact you tried to kill my favorite patient, I wouldn't mind having dinner with you. She said in a flirting tone. Hello, pretty lady. Atticus slurred. Hey, if you can't take the lady out for dinner, then at least stay up and answer a few questions. Kurama said. Sure, pretty lady, nice. Atticus said. Everyone's sweat dropped. Okay dear, what's your name? Fonda asked. Atticus. Rhodes. He tried to answer. Age? Fonda asked. 14. Atticus said without a hint of deception. Everyone looked amongst each other. Atticus had the build of an adult and clearly looked different from the photo Mercy had. When was the QB attack? Fonda asked. 7. 8 years by now, I think. Atticus answered, thinking it over. What is your rank and status? Fonda asked. Special Chunin, then Umbu. Started 9 months ago. Atticus said, answering as best he could, fighting the fatigue. Atticus, one more question. Do you have any family? Fonda asked as everyone listened carefully. Ka-san, Mercy Rhodes, Emuto, Alexis Rhodes. To-san. Atticus looked away as if the last one was very painful. Do you have a father? Kurama stepped in. I'm not allowed to say. Atticus muttered. Come on, I won't say anything. Not everything will be on the record. Kurama said. Fine. To-san. Gakuen Yazuka. Atticus said with all his strength. Confirms it, Naruto, do you mind grabbing the Rhodes family? Fonda asked, getting a nod. A moment later Mercy came in holding her daughter's hand and were happy to see the sight of a smiling Atticus. Hey Ka-san, have you met the pretty doctor? I think I got a date, he said with weak grin. Atticus. My baby boy, you're alright. Thank you, Shin-san, you're. Everyone turned to see Shadi was gone. He does that sometimes, he taught it to me, and it is funny every time. Naruto spoke up, getting glares directed at him. Anyways, Atticus should be fine. Except he might be tired and unaware of how much time has passed. Kurama said. What? Mercy asked, shocked. Hey Ka-san, since when do you have an Emuto? Where's Lexi-chan? She needs her Anaki. Atticus said, looking at Alexis, who was tearing up. Anaki, it's me. Alexis cried. No, Lexi-chan is still a baby and she just started the academy. She's going to be a ninja like me. Atticus said, only to be engulfed in a hug. Atticus, can you really not remember your own sister? Mercy asked. Atticus adjusted his vision before going wide-eyed. This wasn't the same little girl he picked up and dropped off at the academy for her first year at the academy. This was a grown woman who's clearly a genin. Lexi-chan, you're so old. Atticus said. Alexis cried onto his shoulder as she gripped him. Mercy watched as she saw her children reunite for the first time in years. I think I should go. Family is the most important thing after all. Oh, and Fonda, send me a receipt. I don't want to go back to eating a ramen cup once a week, so don't swindle me again. Naruto said as he left. Like I've ever. Fonda scoffed. Naruto made his way back to the hall to see Blair waiting. Sorry I kept you waiting. I know this must be the worst date I've taken you, he said with a sigh. Not the best, but at least Alexis reunited with her brother. Did you figure out why he attacked you at least? Blair asked. I didn't want to, and I think he might have a case of amnesia. Naruto answered. Anyways, I don't want to get your parents worried. They're going to hate me as it is keeping you out late, and what I think might be an assassination attempt you got caught in, he explained. Blair gave him a weak smile. It wasn't the best, but I didn't mind your company, she said. Do you need me to carry you? Naruto asked. Blair blushed. Can you shunshin the way there? It feels kind of embarrassing, she said. I understand, Naruto said as he lifted Blair with one arm under her legs and the other behind her back as she wrapped her arms around his neck. You remember where it is, right? Naruto nodded as they both disappeared in a burst of leaves. Later that night, after dropping off Blair and managing to calm her parents down, Naruto returned to the orphanage knowing Martha and the others were worried sick about him, only to be met with a horrible sight. The orphanage was almost destroyed, and a lot of the children were running outside. What made him worry were all the umbu that appeared. Naruto clenched his fists and ran, putting as much chakra he could into his heels and dashed at a speed that would put Might Guy to shame. There was no way Naruto would allow the village or Danzo or whoever was in charge of this operation get away with this. The next day at the Hokage's office, Minato looked over the village, smiling that everything was going as planned. With his umbu units sent out, he was sure he could flush his son out or at least get to those that were close to him. Naruto wouldn't dare get His Majesty's help as he would put his loved ones on the line. With that he looked at the photos he had that he was able to have gotten through more successful means. The first two were one of his genin talking with Naruto and later one where they are hugging after the end of a date. As much as he wanted it, Jiraiya prevented him from going after the genin. Tsunade agreed with this too. The woman was willing to quit because of the scandal he caused for the Rhodes family a few years back. Kidnapping or threatening one of his genin would create a bigger backlash, and marking her as a traitor could present him with some trouble with the Fire Daimyo. However, there was something else. There were photos of Naruto with 3 kids, treating them as if he were family. The brat was clearly being spoiled and moved on to some other kids as a temporary replacement. Maybe Naruto would see that and realize the error of his ways. Then again, they're just orphans from the looks of it. As long as they have a place to sleep and eat, then everything will be fine. It's not like the village cared much for the orphanage. If anything, they're more of a hindrance and a disruption of an economic flow. Maybe if they're up for it, he can have them sent to the academy. The one in the wheelchair could probably find a job at a post office or something. The kid could use real-life experience to learn that he can't do much being bound to a wheelchair. Hopefully he can also beat the teenage love out of Naruto. He's going to get married soon anyways. For the village's sake too. Besides, who would want some civilian family genin instead of beautiful women who are going to lead their respective villages? So why be tied down to one nobody when he can have 2 major leaders? Hell, he was thinking of convincing the new Mizukage to let Naruto marry a member of Tsuchigamo clan. If they won't let Arashi marry one of his kunoichi, then maybe he can get a contract from Kiri. Speaking of which, he should work on planning Ika's future wedding. After Naruto's business is cleared up, Ika will marry into Sasuke's clan, preferably at age 16, so long as the Uchiha is willing to wait. He wouldn't want to embarrass the village's other golden boy by making him look like a lecher since Ika is only 9 right now. Things were going to look good for the Namikaze clan. Arashi would be the next Hokage sometime in the future, or Rokudaime at the latest. Naruto would be the one to stabilize the nations, and Ika would help bring the power of the Uchiha back to the village along with a few of them belonging to the clan. Everything was right in the world. Crash. Everything was not right in the world. Minato jumped back as he saw his prized student crash through the window. Kakashi skidded against the floor with a giant pole down his gut. Minato, sensei. Kakashi gasped. Kakashi. Minato yelled as he ran towards Kakashi, only to see an arrow pierce Kakashi in the eye where his Sharingan was. Don't worry, I'll remove it, he said as he pulled it out as Kakashi yelled in pain. I warned you. I hope you're ready to tell the village you're responsible for all the casualties. His Majesty. What did that mean? Minato's thoughts were cut off as he heard the sounds of heavy fighting outside his office. When he ran out, he was horrified to the sight of his Umbu having been left slaughtered. Only one remained, who was hanging upside down, missing their chest armor and shirt. This shinobi was branded with the kanji for slave. That's it for part 4. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.